I'm 79 years old. If I lost everything today, every business, every property, every ounce of gold, and someone handed me $10,000, I would not invest it, not $1. And people get angry when I say this. They say, Robert, you teach investing. What do you mean you wouldn't invest it? Think about it. $10,000 in the wrong hands disappears. $10,000 in the right hands becomes freedom. Same money, different hands. Today I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do, step by step. But first, I have to show you the mistake, the one almost everyone makes, because you're probably making it right now. Here's what most people do when they get their hands on $10,000. They rush. They get a little money and immediately try to turn it into more money. They buy a stock somebody mentioned. They buy crypto their neighbor bragged about. They hand it to a stranger in a nice suit. Without understanding how money actually works, that's the mistake. Not the stock, not the crypto, the rush. My rich dad said, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep and how hard it works for you. Let me say this again. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. School never taught you that. School taught you to work for money. Get the grades, get the job, get the paycheck. Nobody taught you what to do with the money once you had it. That was not an accident. So before I invested a single dollar of that $10,000, I would invest in my financial education, a book, a seminar, time with someone who has already done what I want to do, a mentor. And this is where people get confused. They say, Robert, I already have a financial advisor. I didn't say advisor. I said mentor.
Robert Kiyosaki begins with a statement that sounds almost unbelievable. Instead of rushing into the market, he says the real investment comes first, understanding how money actually works. His next argument is even more controversial. He believes the biggest difference between average investors and successful ones isn't intelligence or starting capital. It's who they choose to learn from. And according to Kiyosaki, that distinction has quietly cost millions of people far more than any market crash ever could.
I didn't say advisor. I said mentor. There is a difference. And that difference is costing you more money than any market crash ever will. Most people go their whole lives without learning it. They sit across the desk from the person in the nice suit, nodding, signing, trusting, and they never ask the one question that would change everything. I'm going to give you that question in a moment. The mistake is the rush. The fix is the mind. Here's the difference. An advisor tells you how. A mentor has actually done it. That's it. That's the whole lesson. But most people never hear it. Think about it. Your financial advisor. Has your financial advisor ever built a business? Ever bought an apartment building? Ever raised capital for a deal? Or do they have a job, a salary, a quota? Here's the problem. Most advisors are salespeople. Good people, nice people. But they get paid to sell you products, mutual funds, annuities, whatever the company upstairs tells them to move this month. A mentor sells you nothing. A mentor has scars. A mentor has lost money and made it back. A mentor can look at your deal and say, I made that exact mistake in 1985. Here's what it cost me. You cannot buy that in a prospectus. So the one question most people never ask the person handling their money, have you actually done what you're telling me to do? Ask it. Watch their face. That's why the first piece of my $10,000 goes to finding a mentor. Books written by people who did it. Seminars taught by people who did it. A seat at the table with people who did it. And then the second piece. I would take that money and buy one skill, not a degree, not a certification, one skill. And it is not the skill you think it is. My rich dad drilled it into me when I was young. and it made me rich. One skill. We'll be right back.
For many people, wealth starts with finding the perfect investment. But Kiyosaki turns that idea upside down. He argues that before chasing returns, people should develop a skill that creates opportunities over and over again. It's a lesson that challenges traditional career advice and sets up one of the interview's boldest claims about how wealthy people actually build fortunes.
When we left, we had put our mistake behind us, and I promised to tell you about the one skill my rich dad told me to learn. You know the mistake now, you know the mentor question. Now, the one skill. When I was young, my rich dad gave me an instruction that sounded crazy. He said, when you are young, work to learn, not to earn. Work to learn, not to earn. My poor dad said the opposite. Take the safest job, take the biggest paycheck, climb the ladder. Two dads, two instructions. One made me rich. So here's a skill I would buy with my $10,000. The ability to sell. Sales, marketing, communication. The skill of putting a deal in front of a human being and having them say yes. And people hate this answer. They say, Robert, I'm not a salesperson. Selling is beneath me. Think about it. Every dollar that has ever moved into your life, somebody sold something. The employee sells their time. The doctor sells their expertise. The company sells a product that pays your wage. The poor are afraid of selling. The rich master it. Because here's what selling really is. It's not pushing junk on strangers. It's the skill of generating income, not a salary, not a wage. A salary is income somebody gives you and can take away. Income from a skill is income you control. The $10,000 cannot multiply until the mind behind it knows what it is doing. Let me say this again. The money cannot multiply until the mind can. And once you can sell, something bigger opens up. Something that makes people really angry when I say it. My rich dad taught me the rich do not work for money, but he taught me something else too.
This is where the conversation becomes especially controversial. Kiyosaki argues that the biggest obstacle isn't a lack of money. It's a lack of knowledge about finding exceptional opportunities. Whether viewers agree or disagree, his message is clear. Great investors spend more time learning how to recognize valuable deals than worrying about how much cash they have. And that leads directly into how he believes capital really flows.
Something that makes people really angry when I say it. My rich dad taught me the rich do not work for money, but he taught me something else too, something almost nobody talks about. The rich don't use their own money either. Sit with that. Not their labor, not their savings, then whose? Everybody thinks the barrier to real estate is money. I'd invest, Robert, but I don't have the down payment. You've said it, I've heard it 10,000 times. Here's the problem. The barrier is not money. The barrier is not knowing how to find money. There's a difference. And it's a difference between waiting your whole life and starting this year. Most people take their $10,000 and start saving toward a down payment, nickel by nickel, year after year, while prices climb faster than the savings ever could. That's school thinking. Work hard, save up, wait your turn. Investor thinking is different. I would not save toward a down payment. I would use the $10,000 to learn how to find deals. Deals so good that other people want to fund them. Because here's what my rich dad knew. A great deal finds its own money. Let me say that again, slowly. A great deal finds its own money. A mediocre deal cannot be saved by any amount of capital. But a great deal? Investors line up, partners appear, capital chases it. Real estate investing is not about how much money you have. It is about how well you understand the deal. And in a moment, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like, how the money actually shows up. But first, a warning. Because none of this matters, the mentor, the skill, the deals, none of it, if you can't protect that $10,000 from the two things that destroy it first.
According to Kiyosaki, raising money isn't about convincing people to take a chance on you. It's about becoming the person who consistently finds opportunities others overlook. In his view, investors with capital are constantly searching for people who bring strong ideas to the table. But even with the right knowledge, he says one mental habit prevents most people from ever reaching that point.
Okay, welcome back. Let's get to it and exactly how money finds deals. Because a great deal finds its own money. That's where we left off. Now I'll show you how the money actually shows up. Most people think raising capital is begging, going hat in hand to a bank, groveling for a loan. Wrong. Raising capital is a skill. And with $10,000, I would buy that skill before I ever bought a property. Here's what that education looks like. How to analyze cash flow so you know a good deal from a bad one in minutes, not months. How to find undervalued properties, the ones everyone else drives past. How to find investors, the people sitting on capital looking for someone they trust. How to structure partnerships so everybody wins and everybody's protected. How to present a deal so clearly, so completely, that the person with money leans across the table and says, "How much do you need?" That last one is why the selling skill came first. See how it stacks? The mentor teaches you. The skill lets you communicate. The deal brings the money. And people say, "Robert, why would a rich investor give me their money?" Because rich investors have a problem. They have capital and no time. No time to hunt deals, no time to walk properties, no time to run numbers. You have time. They have money. That's not charity. That's a partnership. The person who finds a deal is just as valuable as a person who funds it. My rich dad built his empire knowing that. So here's the lesson, compressed. Learn how deals work. Become the person who finds the deals. The money will find you. Not might, will. Because capital is always hunting for a great deal, and a great deal is always hunting for capital. Your job is to stand in the middle. That's the position. Now, the warning I promised. Before I tell you the two things that destroy $10,000 faster than any crash, I have to show you the 4 words that open the door for them.
This part of the interview shifts away from investing strategies and focuses on psychology. Kiyosaki argues that the questions people ask themselves determine the answers they eventually find. Changing a single phrase may seem simple, but he believes it can completely alter the way someone approaches financial challenges. And beneath that mindset, he says, lie 2 emotions that have shaped financial decisions for generations.
4 words. I can't afford it. You've said them. Your parents said them. Their parents said them. My poor dad said them constantly. My rich dad forbade them in his house. Forbade them. Like profanity. Because here's what those 4 words actually do. I can't afford it shuts your brain down. The moment you say it, your mind stops working. No thinking required. Case closed. And it doesn't stop there. Those words produce helplessness. Helplessness produces sadness. And sadness, left alone long enough, becomes depression. 4 words. That's the price. My rich dad required 4 different words. How can I afford it? Same situation, same bank account, completely different brain. How can I afford it opens your mind up. It forces thinking. It puts your brain to work, hunting for answers, hunting for possibilities. One phrase is a period, the other is a question mark. The poor say, I can't afford it, and stop there. Done, finished, off the hook. The rich ask, how can I afford it? And the brain goes to work finding the answer. That's the difference. Everything I've told you today, the mentor, the selling skill, the deals that fund themselves, every single one of those doors is locked to the person who says, I can't afford it. And everyone opens to the person who asks, how? But here's a question nobody asks. Why do people say those 4 words? What's underneath them? That's the two things. And now you're ready to hear them.
Fear and greed are often blamed for market bubbles and crashes, but Kiyosaki argues they're really symptoms of something deeper. In his view, people make emotional decisions when they don't fully understand what they're investing in. The more knowledge they gain, the less control those emotions have. That idea brings the entire interview back to the same conclusion it started with.
Fear and greed. Those are the two things. The two emotions that destroy more fortunes than every market crash in history combined. Here's how they work on your $10,000. Fear of losing the money makes you never invest it. It sits in savings, safe. While inflation eats it alive year after year, fear doesn't protect your money. Fear just picks a slower way to lose it. And greed. Greed makes you take stupid risks. The hot tip, the sure thing, the coin your neighbor swears will go up forever. Greed hands your money to strangers and calls it a strategy. Fear keeps you out of good deals. Greed puts you into bad ones. Both losing, both yours. And here's what almost nobody understands. Fear and greed are not money problems. They are ignorance problems. The less you understand how money works, the more those two emotions control your decisions. The more you understand, the quieter they get. My rich dad said, it's not the smart who get ahead, it's the bold. And boldness is not recklessness. Boldness is what fear turns into when knowledge shows up. The educated investor sees a market crash and feels opportunity. The ignorant investor sees the same crash and feels terror. Same event, different education. So the cure for fear is financial education. The cure for greed is financial education. Two diseases, one cure. That's why the $10,000 goes into the mind first. Not because education is nice, because education is armor. The market can't destroy money the emotions already protect. Let me say this again. Fear and greed feed on ignorance. Starve them. So now you have the whole answer.
Whether you agree with every one of Robert Kiyosaki's views or not, the central theme of this interview never changes. He argues that lasting wealth isn't built by chasing the hottest investment or waiting for the perfect moment. It's built by developing knowledge, practical skills, and the ability to recognize opportunities that others overlook. His advice isn't to ignore investing forever. It's to become the kind of person who understands why an investment is worth making before risking a single dollar. In his view, the first investment is never in the market. It's in your own mind.